Hey, welcome to the Retail 4 podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. We talked a little earlier. You are taking on a mammoth project, and I'm super excited to talk about it. But first, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your brand, Quick Brown Fox.
Great. Yeah. So my name is Kate Murray, and I own Quick Brown Fox Letterpress. I started the business in 2016, and I print all the letterpress cards in-house. Some of our cards have what they say is too many colors. We actually have a card that has 11 colors on it. It's a little bit wild. So we've really grown in the past few years. I have actual employees now. We have a very large studio. We make everything in the U.S. and most of our products we source from within New York State. But we really love puns and like silly humor. We think that cards are a great way to just send like a little bit of love and to like cheer somebody up.
It's the cutest line. And I love the puns. I think that those are some of the best cards ever.
Thank you.
You have taken on a mammoth project, which I am so excited to talk about it because, it's very near and dear to my heart, shows, and you are merging Noted and Gifted show. And let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, Noted has been around for a few years now. Originally, it started in Brooklyn in 2019 after the shuttering of the National Stationery Show, which I had been attending for years. And our two members of the GCA, George White and John Smythe, started Noted with the idea to help take the place. So that's the time of year that we kept it, is the time of year that the stationery show traditionally was. So we have since moved the show to San Francisco because we felt like the West Coast, there's a bit of a vacuum in terms of shows. There's, of course, Vegas, but there's nothing, and the Rocky Mountain Gift Show. But then, there used to be a San Francisco Expo. It doesn't exist anymore. There used to be a show in LA. So with the rise of like smaller, I vaguely remember the LA show, but
so sad.
Yeah, I know. So, with the rise of a lot of smaller shows, we just felt like Noted could have a home in San Francisco. So our show is there every year. And this year we have decided to open Noted to gift items. It was feedback we got from retailers last year. Unfortunately, SF Now decided not to move forward this year. So then Noted and the GC decided to go ahead and just offer spaces to people selling gift items, largely because, again, retailers want to be able to see more than just cards. They want, there are 100% stationery stores, and I love them and I sell to a lot of them. But we understand that like gift items are also what a lot of our retailers are looking for. So we decided to take on Gifted as well. And that's us branching out Noted into having exhibitors with giftable items.
I apologize because I called it Gifted before I'd said that it was San Francisco Now show, which how many years because I just remember last year, just do 1 year in San Francisco and then they stopped it.
They did 2 years in San Francisco and then they just decided to not move forward and focus on New York now. And we just decided we really love the space that we're in, Fort Mason. And so we just decided to continue moving forward without Emerald and New York Now, which is SF Now. So then we just decided we would take on that side and just kind of like open registration to exhibitors. Whereas before the GCA, since we're the Greeting Card Association, we hadn't, you have to have 60% of your items have to be greeting cards to be on the Noted side. So in order to incorporate people selling gift items, that's how we ended up starting just Gifted, since SF Now was no longer going to exist.
And the 2 years that SF Now was in San Francisco, was it Noted going on at the same time? Because I remember hearing people saying they were doing both shows.
Yeah, we co-located together in Fort Mason. So basically it's just, it would be SF Now and Noted in the past 2 years. But this year, since they stepped back, rather than co-locate with SF Now, we just created Gifted. So it's the same show. It's just like a new name. So there just is no more SF Now.
More cohesive. And from what I've understood, I didn't do the show, but from what I've understood is that the Noted side was much stronger than the gift side. So knowing that you guys now are taking over it, I'm feeling as a whole, it's going to be a stronger show.
I think so. We also, I thought the show looked beautiful. I also love seeing a ton of cards in a row, but I do understand that looking at, booth after booth after booth of greeting cards is a little overwhelming. So this year we reorganized the floor just to incorporate the gift side of the show with the stationery. So it's a bit more about exploration. You can find, this section will have really cool gift items. This section will have stationery. So you'll really be going from section to section, wandering the show. So it's a little less long aisles in the show and more just, it's not a very, the show's only 2 days. And so, we want you to be able to explore and we have a lot of fun stuff planned. And so it's just so easy to breeze through and it's a couple long aisles. So we tried to break up the show this year. So I think the floor plan is a little more unique.
It sounds almost like you're floor planning a retail store where you are forcing where you want people to go, which I think is brilliant because it's true. Every single show is just aisle after aisle after aisle, unless you're in somebody's big, massive booth where they've done that, floor placement. So your stationery line, that's your main hustle. And now when you took over doing Noted, how do you take something over like that when have you had experience in running shows? Because that's not an easy no. Hey, I'm going to take over that.
No. The thing with the Greeting Card Association, I'm sure everything is volunteer based. So we do have our amazing staff of Civica team members who help us with the day-to-day running. But everything that between Noted and last year I chaired the Louis. So I helped, I was in charge of putting the Louis Awards on. And then, we have volunteer members putting on our yearly workshop and retreat. And so everything is really volunteer run. If you have a question, it generally comes to me or my co-chair, who is Dave, from Avanti Press, so it's the two of us kind of running it. I will say my hat is off. It is not easy to put on a show. But it's great because we're kind of doing this from the exhibitor's perspective. So and then we have been doing a ton of outreach to retailers, kind of asking what they want. Actually, it's really funny. Later today, 5:00, I have a happy hour call with a retailer who's helping us with Gifted, as well as actually a friend of mine who works for Emeralds. And the three of us will just hop on a Zoom call and have a glass of wine. And I'll be okay, give me some more ideas. How are you feeling? They're helping us do outreach to other retailers. So it's a bit more grassroots. I don't know how I have the time, but I'm definitely going to take a nap in April and take a month off. But yeah, it's, it's a little bit of my day every day. And I really believe in the show. I think it's a great show. It's a show before the people, by the people kind of, we're the ones putting it on. I do have a whole committee. So I do have a bunch of other people who are helping me do all of this with outreach, with, design work, basically everything that goes into it we have a committee every 2 weeks, but then, that breaks into subcommittees. So some subcommittee deals with this and some subcommittee takes care of this. And then they all do the work in pieces and bring it back together. And then we make it work.
I will say I love the fact that you're doing this as an exhibitor for exhibitors because, that's one with my job, merchandising. I will, when I'm doing wholesale, I had a call with a company and I just said, a lot of my perspective is from the buyer's perspective, which is different. And it does lend to really, as a relationship, it does lend to a more successful setup because I'm looking at it from a retailer's perspective, as well as I know what we need to do from the wholesale perspective. And it's very much the same. And I love that it sounds like you're kind of flipping this switch on how the show is or how shows have been put on. And that's kind of what I want to talk about because you guys are doing some totally different things, which I am excited. I wish I was in the area. I'm going to be in the area, but I wish I was going to the show, but I'm not going to be in town. But talk a little bit about the difference of what the show's going to look like this year versus the other years?
Well, so like I said, this year we are incorporating and mixing everybody up. So like, you'll have, we have like kind of like S shape. It's going to sound really weird. I wish you could come. I'll send you a video, but like, paths that kind of wind through booths, booths that face out in every direction. Again, like, it's not like we will have pods where it's like a little small pod with like smaller, you'll be able to find like smaller makers in one section, like brand new people here, or like more established people here. But then like they're right next to somebody who this is their very first show. And some of the exciting stuff we do, which maybe we weren't the first, but when I started doing the show in 2019, this was the first I had heard of it, is that we have our pitch programs. And this year we have the most pitch applicants of like any year that I've been a part of it. I think we have 8 times 3 is, 24. So we have a general pitch program one day. So it's kind of like a Shark Tank. So you apply to be in it. It costs a little bit of extra money, but then the morning before the show starts from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., retailers come in. We have like coffee. We have really good donuts and like really good coffee. And then you get to have a little breakfast. And then we walk you, someone, probably me, somebody else, walks you around to 8 exhibitors. And so those exhibitors have 5 minutes to tell you who they are, what their brand is, what their values are. You have a few minutes to ask questions, like 30 seconds, or you have a few minutes to ask a question, and then I take you to the next person. And it's a great way for like, kind of like exhibitors to like start their day and get warmed up and ready to talk to people. But it's a great way for retailers also to like have a bit more quiet time and like ask a question if they want, and they can come back and talk to you later. It's like a no pressure situation. We also do, on day one, we offer pitches where we have 8 exhibitors who identify as makers of color. So we highlight them. And then we also highlight new makers. So you could go in and see somebody, we have new makers where this is their first show and they launched their brand this year. And so you get your first glimpse at like what these exhibitors are doing. And it's very exciting. We do support the exhibitors the whole way. We do a lot of know before you go. We're like, these are the people in your pitch program, like practice with each other. We're here to help where we can. We'll do a few sessions where we make sure the exhibitors are like ready to go. But that's like something very exciting that we offer at the show.
That is amazing. And to go back to the floor plan of how new vendors are around more established vendors, I think that is so brilliant, because Fred Siegel used to say, energy creates energy. And the established booths get all that energy. And it's like almost like from a buyer's perspective, when you get back to the area where it's new vendors, that there's not a lot of excitement. It's always the sad, and everyone's kind of standing there and doesn't know. And, when there's that energy, it's like everybody gets to feed off it. And it's, they get a chance to be, like, here I am because of the established person. It's like, it feels more community, less competition, which I think is amazing. And I wish more shows felt like this. And I think a lot of it has to do because it's so grassroots.
I think so. And the nice thing is of the shows like that, I've been doing shows again since 2016. The one thing we did this year, which was feedback we got, is that we have a live floor plan so that when you sign up, you can go and be like, oh my gosh, Good Juju is here. And there's a booth right next to Good Juju. And you can click on that booth and then that's your booth. So like, it's not like you email us back and you want like, can I have this or this or this? You can click on your live booth and pick the one you want from the website live. And so then once...
Is that how, because I've never been on that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understood, it seemed like the show tells you where you're going to go.
Mm-hmm. And so we decided to flip it.
I love that. How's the reaction been from the vendors for that?
Great. Everybody, it's really fun because you can really see where people want to be. And we worked really hard to work with the website that we're working with, to make sure that the names are on each booth so that you can really see like like, especially on the gift side, we have Sugar Paper who's coming for the first time to do a show in years. And so I actually even feel like for a paper person or a gift person, like it's really exciting to see these big names and then see a face right next to them that you, again, you're talking about this like excitement and like community building and like, you know, being able to be right next to that person and having those conversations with bigger companies is really exciting. Also, everyone is so nice at the show. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, it's just really nice because you really get to learn live on the floor from your peers.
So when I just drew a blank. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they were talking about how the encouraging the new vendors and new people to go out and ask questions to establish. And a lot of times, like, it happens a lot in retail. And that's why I think why everyone loves this podcast is that retailers are very honest about their challenges and what works, what doesn't. And other retailers are learning from that. And for a long time, it feels like it's like, and still for a lot of people, it's like this weird secret, like no one wants to talk about stuff. But in that situation, like, it's like, almost like a mentoring program, and like how lucky for these like new brands to be right next to an established brand and have the brand give them advice, and also to be able to watch how they interact and, you know, feed off their energy and their customers, but as almost like a mentoring thing for the new person to be able to sit there and just suck everything up.
Well, because I mean, I feel like even when I first started doing shows, like I had, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't have a catalog. Like it's just really nice. We try to make sure that everyone is as prepared as they can before they go, because you don't know unless you ask. And luckily, a lot of, and especially last year's Noted and this year's Noted as well, a lot of people have gone through PDN's Proof to Product course. And so more people are prepared to go to shows like this, and more people know each other from outside of the shows. So it's really nice. People are just very helpful and you can lean on other people. We have a whole thread set up where you can just ask your peers, like, what do I need to bring? What do you recommend for glue dots? You know, wow.
It's so, you know, because it feels like, so like it's you're very much building a community, and it's yes. From doing setups from shows and being in temps and what like that. And it's no one talks to each other. It doesn't seem like it seems like when you join some of these big shows yesterday I spoke to somebody who's a consultant that Dallas is actually using her to put their new temporary people through almost like kind of a boot camp class where this is what you need. This is our suggestions. These are best practices, because you're right. I don't think retailers understand when you sign up for one of these and it's your first show, you get a booklet of a lot of what you can't do, but there's not any suggestions on like, no, you can't put anything on the walls. You can't do this, but here's our suggestion on what you can do. You don't get that. And it seems like you're really creating that, which is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, it's just, like building the community that you want, you know?
Amazing. So as a retailer, since retailers are listening, talk about what the experience is going to be like for the retailer. Obviously, the floor plan is incredibly different, which I love.
Yeah. So like I was saying, the floor plan, you'll like snake your way through the show. There will be, you know, alleys that kind of cut off. You can go over here. We're hoping we're going to have signs that I'm working on right now that will, I mean, this is depending on if this is something you're interested in, but We'll let exhibitors self-identify. So if you're looking for cards by queer makers or you know, API or Black makers, you know, we'll have that on the sign to be able to see kind of if that's specifically what you're looking for. But again, we have the pitch programs. We're going to have educational sessions during the day. They're going to be very short. They're only about 20 minutes each. So really short little sessions so you can sit down. We had free lattes and free coffee on the floor last year. It was really good. The chai was great, but you can grab like a nice latte and go sit because I know it's really hard to walk shows. So, you know, we want to be able to even have a little break, have a 20-minute break, grab a coffee, go sit down, listen to somebody talk about, we're going to have a few retailers talk about merchandising. So just kind of sessions really targeting the feedback we've gotten that retailers are interested in learning about. We are also going to have, of course, happy hour on the floor. So that'll be really fun. Just kind of end of day. What's that?
What does that look like? How do you happy on the floor when you're talking like a lot of people?
I don't know. Like, we're figuring it out. Now, I have one thing I want to happen, but I feel like I can't talk about it because it hasn't been approved yet. But yeah, just a free happy hour on the floor. Big shows do it. We can do it too. So, just like the last 2 hours, it just becomes a little more fun. You can have more conversations. We do have lounges on the floor. So, we do have some people who like to go and sit down with like their rep and a retailer. Yeah. Why not just sit down with a glass of wine if that's what you want and like go over the line and have like a much more relaxed, like pressure-free environment to have a discussion about, your brand, or the retailer can meet. If you like to work with reps, you can meet a few reps that are on the floor, start a work relationship with them. We're also going to have an interactive booth award that we're hoping retailers get excited and enjoy. So there'll be a card that we'll have a few awards that retailers can vote on the floor. Like, what was your favorite thing you saw? And you can write it down. And then the idea is the last thing is like, what was your favorite booth you saw while you were here? And then you'll just drop it in a box when you leave. And then we'll get to, after the show, let people know who won, who didn't. Well, not who didn't, but we'll just let people know who won. But I think it's just a little more interaction. It's a little more fun. It's a little less stress or pressure. So we just wanted it to be, again, more community driven, more about the interactions and conversations you have on the floor.
Oh my gosh, I am so wishing I could go to this. I like the smaller shows, and you're done with them relatively quick, which is great. So you can go do other things. But I really do love smaller shows. They feel so much. I'm sorry, I'm listening to my dog.
It's so cute.
I mean, there's another show that's in Vegas. It's an apparel show, and it competes with Magic, and it is the most lovely show to go to. They feed you lunch. They have afternoon cocktails. They have afternoon sweet to keep you going. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people. You're not like racing to this booth to try and write your orders before, all the rest of people. It's such a different experience than doing these big shows. And I think I'm so excited for this. And when we talked, I was like, we need to do an interview, because I just feel like so many retailers, I know San Francisco, New York now had a rough go, and everyone was talking about how much better Noted was. And, my hope is, since you guys are taking this over, that will translate. And it sounds like, what you're doing and flipping the switch on how shows are done. I feel like for the retailer, what a great experience. And it's like 2 days. It's easy to get in. So talk to me, because I know I'm going to hear this. What about the food? Because getting food at the shows, I'm at Vegas, there's trucks, which are awesome, but the wait is like an hour to get food sometimes. And then there's nothing else. And you're surviving on like Cheetos and diet.
So first of all, you can always come to my booth, because I always make homemade cookies. So I always have homemade cookies in my booth. But we are going to have food trucks. We had a really popular pizza truck last year that, there were signs. You had to do sign language. It was a deaf pizza company. And so they taught you the signs for the pizza you were going to order. So we're trying to get them to come back. But this year we're going to try to get a few extra trucks. But then we always have food at the show. We also have a caterer at the show who also, last year, I got a sandwich from them. So there's a few food options both within the hall and without. So, because I know you got to eat.
That's the one. And I've done a couple podcasts on, best, like what I do to prepare and like what I suggest. And it's always like, bring nuts, bring water, bring a bar, something, or you're literally living on, Cheez-Its and Diet Cokes.
My hack is that I always go to Trader Joe's the day before a show, and I'll buy a couple salads that I just keep them in my hotel fridge. And then it's so easy to eat a salad and then tuck it away when you have to have a conversation. But yeah, I'm the queen of Trader Joe's snacks at shows.
Give us some information on the show dates, location, registration, all that information.
Great. So the show is April 17th and 18th at Fort Mason in San Francisco, California. It's very easy to get to. It's not far from Fisherman's Wharf. We actually, and there's a lot of hotels over in Fisherman's Wharf. We found some good deals this year.
And they're listed on the website?
They're listed on the website. We do have a block set aside. I'm sure we'll run out at some point, but we're looking to add to that block. And the show is 10 to 6, 2 days. And then the pitch programs, of course, are in the morning from 9 to 10. If any retailers want to come, we still have a few slots. We'll have a few slots for a little while just because we expanded the pitch program so much. We'll take application. We'll get any retailers who want to come in for the pitch program. And you can find everything on the GCA's website. So greeting card. Good question. I'm always like, is it greetingcard.org or is it greeting card? Yes, greetingcard.org. And then you can just follow the link for Noted and Gifted. And it has all the information for where it is, a bit of our back history. And yeah, we're just really excited. We are less than 2 months away, so I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about this because I truly like I said, I am so excited because it sounds so different. And it's one of those things where it's like, I'm all for the small shows now because I think it's just such an incredible experience. And it's like, I'm so excited that you guys are doing this.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting us. We're so excited. I'll miss you this year, but you'll be there next year.
Yes.